Hi, welcome. I'm glad you are here again. I'm going to talk with you today about Zhang, and I know I'm very well aware of the fact that Zhang is somebody that many scholars think like that's not a real person. It is actually an image, a figment of the imagination of the Daoists and so on. And there's a lot of Western scholars especially who suggest that. The thing is, though, that at the moment that we are looking at the works of Zhang, there are a lot of works. Not everything is equally confirmed or anything like through historical sources. It is true there are a lot of things that are not exactly clear, but on the other hand, Taoists consider them authentic, and as a result of that, they are important to Taoists. So as a result of that, it is important to investigate them, what they say and what they mean and how they are meaningful to us. So if you don't mind, I'm going to continue with this text. I'm going to give you some poetry. I'm going to give you something about the structure of the book that I used for the translation. I will give you the commentaries that my teacher had on the commentaries, and I will talk to you about how I went about with the translation, and I will tell you some parts of part 2, which is the part that I think should be the topic of this video specifically. Let's start the recording by itself. I wanted to begin with a poem from Sanfeng, which is called The Rootless Tree. Actually, it's a series of poems, and they are together. They're called The Rootless Tree. The chapter with the poems is basically about different alchemical approaches, which are also a result of his development as an alchemist over time. And I will give you just the first one, the partridge sky. There are both good and evil in Taoism. Those who follow evil and betray good will be everywhere in the world. It is rare to see a phoenix soaring through the clouds, but it is common to see a frog falling into a well. It is not difficult to distinguish the chaos, as everyone regards red soil as cinnabar. Mind you, I did not put that into poetic language yet. I still have to work on that, but it is available on the Shifu guide, and you can read it there as a text so that you can understand the meaning and that you can use the poetry of that for your own personal development. Basically, this text, of course, is very clear. It says there's many people who are evil, and there are only a few who actually are worth the moral trouble. My teacher, Shen Hongsun, he said that evil and good is only partially present in the world. Very good, really good, and really evil, there are only a few of them. And maybe 5% of all the people are really good and really evil. But that all the other people are in the gray area, tending towards good or tending towards evil. And the point is, of course, according to both Buddhist and Daoist teachings, is that you grow into a particular kind of direction where you can feel comfortable with, either good or evil. And that means that there is, for the development of enlightenment, according to Buddhism, there is no matter if you are good or evil, because eventually there's also evil, that to be able to be truly evil, that you actually focus on the development of the scope of your evil. And as a result of that, to include to be really very evil, you have to do a lot of different kind of good things to make sure that eventually your evil is going to work fine for you. So the net result is going to be sort of the same. Truly evil people lead to good things. Say, for instance, an American president says like, okay, I want to boycott all the import of external products into the United States. That is great. Why? Because if the import is being blocked on everything, that means that there's not so much shipping going to the United States. A lot of shipping in the world is going to be less. So the destruction of the oceans is going to be much less. And there's also not much need for diesel as a result of that. So in fact, you can say that is a greening of the world. Maybe not intended as such, but it's definitely a greening of the world in the sense that it actually has as a net result, even though it is pointed at harming people, going to help the world as a whole. Other chapters in this same series are talking about orthodoxy, about Ruism or Confucianism as people call it, the purpose of meditation, about Xuan Yin, the 5 virtues, filial piety, obscenity, giving, profit and loss, superiority, novelty, the Tao of Yin and Yang, the Tao of Self, Xuanmen, everyday fools, the Lord of the Tao of One Yang, and the spiritualized fetus, dedication, and so on. So these texts all explain a little bit about where the context lies. So it is about the stupidity of people, but it is also about where you should be able to develop yourself in such a way, and what kind of thoughts and philosophies are relevant from that. At the moment when we go to the secrets of the Nedan temperature, or the managing of the internal fire, we're actually talking at that moment about what is called the golden flower practice, because Sanfeng was a representative of the golden flower school of alchemy, and this method has a long history and has become famous in the West because of the works of Wilhelm, who translated a text of the golden flower. His translation was very Christianized, so to say, and there's also other kind of opportunities to read about it. I have here also somewhere a translation by a Japanese scholar who translated it in English, and that one actually is much more understandable than the other versions. But this one is then from Zhang, and what he talks about basically is the theory of regulating the temperature. And then in the beginning he says, when practicing, one should not cling to action, because action is acquired. That means you gain the development of your action, and as a result of the action that you gain, you gradually condition yourself. This is what it talks about. This is a common fault among the Daoists today. So few people in the world can truly practice it. And one should also not cling to inaction, because inaction leads to stubborn emptiness. This is a common fault among the Buddhists today. So there are few Buddhist disciples in the world. The reason why this path does not work is because the path is not clear. You have to understand that Sanfeng, as a neo-Daoist, which he clearly is, he does not pick sides about either Buddhism or Taoism. Taoism has good sides for him, Buddhism has good sides for him, Confucianism has good sides for him, and his worldview, this is a trend that you see with many Nedan practitioners, is that they're not really bound to a particular kind of school, even though officially they're known as Daoist. Like Sun Miao, he was a very famous medicine doctor, Daoist. Buddhists claim him, Daoists claim him, but in general he's seen as a Daoist, and he practiced Nedan practice, which is specifically Daoist, and enlightenment he saw as a stepping stone towards the actual development of his immortality. Then further down he says, every day you should be quiet for a while. Wait until your body and your mind are stable and your breath is peaceful. Then you can close your eyes slightly and look at the area between the heart and the kidneys. So this whole area between the heart and the kidneys should be observed 1 inch and 3 points below. Do not be too close or too far. Do not forget to help. All thoughts are gone. Only one's Shun awareness remains. This is called right mindfulness. At this time, be active in this thought, and leisure. Leave that in breath. When you exhale, it will not rush to the heart, and when you inhale, it will not rush to the kidneys. Open and close, come and go, and do this for 1727 times. What is important about this is that normally when you breathe in, your yang rises up towards the heart. When you breathe out, the yin descends towards the kidneys. So when we talk about the circulation of the Duma and the Renmai, we talk about the yang steam going up to the spinal column, going to the crown, then eventually coming down as condense because it cools down, and then ends up into the Renmai, refilling the Dumai, and the Mingmen, because the Mingmen is warm, is going to reshape the steam again, so that the steam can go circulating all the time. And this yang is also being dispersed to the collaterals of the Tu, and it is going into the yang channels on the side of the body, and through the legs and through the arms, and to the face also at the same time. So as a result of that, you are going to be able to manage the yang of your body through that. But there's also the circulation of the water and the fire, which is connected to the Lao Gong point and also the Yongquan points under the feet. And these points, they actually regulate the heat through from the middle dantian to the lower dantian, better known as the heart and the kidneys. And so in that sense, they are that point. So we do not call them energy points or anything like that, like people do with chakra following Joseph Leadbeater. It was not part of Indian philosophy before. No, we call them actually locations in the body, palaces. We call them the three palaces, the three heavenly palaces even. And as a result of that, we see that the upper one is fire and the lower one is water. And we see that according to Sanfeng, the relationship between hexagram number 63 and number 64 also is relevant. I translated the I Ching, as you know, and that I Ching also has a lot of these kind of texts that you can really see back into the text from Sanfeng, because you can see that he really talks about these things. So the heart normally goes up, and because it's active in producing mind and so on, and the kidneys go down because water has a tendency to go to the lowest point, as Lao Tzu also suggested. So as a result of this suggestion of Lao Tzu, we say that water always seeks the lowest point. But in that seeking of the lowest point, we actually use that because it puts pressure on the water to make sure that when the dantian has enough yang and it becomes steam, so that means that your intestines are clear and there is space and emptiness through which the yang actually can activate, and where heaven and earth can also relate to the dantian, then at that moment, of course, you create heat into the Mingmen point, which steams up the yang and goes up. At the moment when you are talking about the energy circulation and so on, you miss that point. And that is the nice thing about translating and reading classics, like what you can find in the Shifu guide, this text, because I just implemented it in the text. I just made a first sort of a good draft for promotion, that you can read it and you can see the text grow over time when you become a member or a sponsor of the program, which of course will be really great, because that makes that I have more time to do translation. But you see that these kind of aspects, they are of essential importance for Sanfeng in that relationship. And then we talk about water and fire, we talk about heaven and earth, we talk about the heart and the kidneys. So these are three different kind of levels in which we see interaction taking place, and the harmonization of these things is important. And the breathing then is the engine for that. And if you give the fire or Li trigram to the heart and the Kan trigram to the kidneys, then at that moment you can say, okay, the last two hexagrams in the I Ching, they are talking about this. The one is helpful. This is where the fire is under the water, so that the steam actually can go up. That's the ministerial fire. And then there's also the fire over the water. That means that the fire goes up and the water goes down, and there is no communication, so the dantian does not heat up. And that is actually the case with normal people. And this is the reason why people age and why they die. So the secret of the golden flower is basically making sure that the circulation of the fire and the water in your body is going to be made helpful. He gives basically also an agenda in the process of alchemy, and that agenda is as such. After practicing for 1 or 2 months, my Shen will become more peaceful, and the longer it is peaceful, the more Qi will be generated. That means, basically, as an explanation, that the Shen, your awareness, is dependent on its inner quiet to be able to produce yang. That means that the effort of making thoughts reduces your yang. That means the effort of talking, of gossiping and all kind of other things, that actually reduces your yang. And that's also the reason why many Daoists, they return back to the mountains at a certain point, because then they can finally be quiet and they can restore the Shen, the awareness, and as a result that contributes to the production of yang in the body. It is very difficult to produce yang when you are busy doing all kind of things. This is also the reason why Daoist teachers like my Shifu advise people to not become a Daoist when you have a family. When you have a family, there is no option, not much option, because a being a family brings restlessness. And to a degree, if you don't organize your life very well, then that is definitely the case. Sanfeng calls this the work of Shen generating Qi and Qi generating Shen. After 100 days or more, that is basically the challenge of the Dantian meditation that we do in our program, so that you can develop your yang as a foundation, because that's the first step. After 100 days or more, the Shen will grow, the true Qi will gradually fill up, and the fire will be warm. The blood and the water will be sufficient, and naturally Kan and Li will intertwine. Chen and Kun will meet, and the Shen will blend, and the Qi will rise. That aspect about the Chen and the Kun also is very interesting, because at the moment when you talk about the Chen and the Kun, these are also two trigrams. Hexagram 11 and 12, they are about that. In hexagram 11 and 12, you have the situation as you find outside. Heaven is above and earth is below. And that is what is called the unmouth. Hexagram 12 is called the unmouth in Chinese, translated from Chinese. And that means that is actually of a demonic nature. So the world as you see it in itself is demonic in nature. That's why people, according to Sun Tzu, are being born as demons, and they need education to become actually moral people. And when you look at the reversal of heaven and earth, then at that moment earth is above and heaven is below. That means heaven carries the earth, and that is the alchemical process. It says basically, and that we also experience it in practice, that the heaven presses down on the earth, carries the earth from below and lifts up the earth, and as a result of that, all living creatures, they exist, they come to existence. And further down the text he talks about the fact that people live in three realms. There's the heavenly realm, and there's the earthly realm, and there's the water realm in between. What Confucius calls the Ren realm, the people realm, is only a part of the water realm. So the water realm is the whole, and the Ren realm is the society, the people together as they are, the clan of human beings. And that means that if you talk about a clan of dogs, that is then the Go realm. Or you can talk about the Mao realm, the cat realm, or you can talk about the Tulza realm, so that is the rabbit realm. So now we've mentioned almost all the pets that people care for. In the text as a whole, you can see that he goes through that whole process, and it is actually quite a lot of text. It is altogether a few thousand words, where he's trying to explain the firing process, and relates to the wuxing, about the form of your body, your inner nature, and so on, and also how you can maintain the voidness or the wuji state within yourself. This is an important aspect of the Zhongwu training that we also do, because the moment when we do Zhongwu training, you are going to first train the Jing. This is the Daoist agenda from all Daoists. You first train the Jing, then from the Jing you go develop. When the Jing is flourishing, you have already developed a little bit more Shen and so on, and Qi. And then at that moment you go to specifically improve the quality of the yin and the yang in your body, so that the Qi actually can manifest itself. And as a result of that, you also have increased the quality of your Shen. Then you're going to use your Shen, because the new aspects of self you become aware of. As a result of that, you can develop the Shen further, and then your inner nature can come out better and better and better, and you're already healthy because of the development of the Jing. And the Jing is the coherence of the body and the way how you carry yourself, and that is something else than all the stuff that people usually talk about when they talk about Jing as a substance. Even though the Jing is being or is held in the Dantian, so to say, or held in the kidneys, depends on which text you read. That basically means that it has a sort of memory function, which is related to your kidneys. So when you're aging, your memory fades, right? That's because the Jing becomes less. That is basically the saying. That's why I think, oh, it must be a substance. But it means because your memory fades, the Jing becomes less, and your body starts collapsing, and the nature of you as a person becomes less clear. And as a result of that, you are going to have problems. And as you know, I'm continuously working on programs to help people to maintain their youthly figure longer and longer. And of course, the more old I become, the more clear it becomes that it actually works, and that's a very important part. But to become a real Taoist, you have to really go through this process what Sanfeng suggests, because this is what Wudang actually is about, this process. It is not about all the Tai Chi and the Pakwa and the Xing. That is just the starting point, what the Chinese government wants you to do. And that is the face of Wudang, but that's not necessarily the essence of Wudang. And the old method of learning was, in fact, to learn for a long time Kung Fu so that you develop your Jing. This is the reason why they do this. It's not because of the Neidan practice. The Neidan practice comes afterwards. And that brings me to the text that I used and the way how my Shifu commented on it when I asked him, like, I want to go translate this. And it will take me years before I probably have it finished. And it's true, I've been busy with it already for a long time to translate this, and I'm retranslating and getting slowly better and better in translating. And he says, like, well, the text itself is good, but please don't read the commentaries, because blah, blah, blah. And then you come into the internal politics of Chinese Daoist scholars and so on, because there are a lot of different kind of things that people don't agree with each other. Every school has its own interpretation. So the Shenwu Pai interpretation or the Sanfeng interpretation, which is a sub-branch of the Shenwu Pai, because there was some argument between the teachers from the Sanfeng Pai with Shenwu Pai, but nonetheless, the actual teachings left in the Shenwu Pai and the Sanfeng Pai, in that sense, had less of these teachings, and they had to borrow a lot from just textbooks, I guess, and maybe some influence from different teachers who were willing to share something with them. So I'm not exactly sure how far they developed, but their Kung Fu is okay. So that is not a problem. But all schools, their Kung Fu is okay. It is all about the more deep esoteric part, of course. And this is what is important. So what I did in the translation, I left out all the commentaries, and I have 3 different kind of textbooks from China where the works of Zhang all are being mentioned, and there are some minor changes between these texts. So all of them, they have slightly different interpretations in the original text, so they're not all exactly the same. And also the interpretation is different. Some have a few poems that the others don't have, and I'm very happy with the fact that I did do this translation. I was thinking maybe I should translate the other ones too, but actually I think it goes too far. I think one translation is good enough. Somebody else can do the other translations, and as a result of that, everybody can learn something. The idea is that you as a interested person in this kind of thing, you can read about these things and you can mirror that on your own practice. Of course, you're always free to ask me to come to my classes, and I give on a weekly basis, of course, I give all kinds of classes. But anytime when somebody comes with a Neidan question, that always gets priority over everything else, because this is the main topic basically from anything that belongs to Shenwu Pai. At the moment, when you talk about that, you need experience to be able to explain it, and also you need to have the literature to be able to ask questions. As it is in Taoism, especially in Wudang Taoism, there are 3 great treasures. One is the teacher, one is the teachings, the Zhao, and the teacher and you are the Jia, you're the family, and then there's the Shu, that's the arts. So by doing these 3 things, actually you are actually holding the hierarchy of learning intact. So the texts actually are the continuation of history. When you look at prehistory, you can see that because of writing, people could remember things from the past. Even in places such as Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, you can see that in the simplest forms of depiction, they are trying to remember things. There is in the pre-Assyrian area of Iran and Iraq, there are tablets with a precursor of the current script of Assyria that we know of, and there are already depictions of all kind of historical things on which people can build on a later date. So every time when you practice meditation and you want to practice it by yourself without any good instruction, without any good literature, then at that moment you become a zero. If you take a populist for learning, then you become a 0. So the effects that you have are going to be very superficial, and they're not going to be long lasting. That means that eventually you're going to lose your love for the art, and the love of the art means that you're going to be feeling more and more attracted to what you're doing, and you're going to go deeper and deeper into it to be basically upgrading yourself from U point 1 to U point 2. Not like this, because that's the wrong symbol. U point 2. So this is all what it is about. So I hope this was very interesting to you. I look forward to see you as a member, of course, of the program following my classes. If you just want to sponsor this kind of translation and this kind of videos, then first of all, join the channel. Make sure you ring the bell so that you get a message from it. If you want, share the video with other people, and also you can, to our patron, you can find it in the links below. You can make sure that you sign up as a sponsor. There's different classes there. Most of these classes actually they should be eliminated, but because still some people are using it in their payment system, but it's actually closed. So at the moment when you sign up through there, I will heave you over to the SEM card, and I will ask you to do your payment through the SEM card. At this moment, we might go to another network later on, because there are some that are better for the research program that I'm developing as part of my IMT studies, my PhD study, to investigate the options for a family-based healthcare that can help prevent all kinds of diseases and make sure that everybody has in their own family the skills necessary to become better. And for this also, of course, I need a lot of people to join and to support it. So everybody who now signs up already gets front seat in this program, and you can see the program also grow. I just delivered my synopsis to the university, and I'm now waiting for the results of my request so that I can actually get to work with developing subsidized applications or financing. But I hope, of course, that I get a lot of donations so that I don't have to do all these kind of things. Thank you very much, and I look forward to see you next time. Yes, you know that I was recording, right?
Ik dacht dat je klaar was.
No, of course not.